Before we begin, please note that the information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only, and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a medical professional. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have seen in this presentation. Your alarm goes off. It's 6:30 a.m. and you're already behind. Before your feet even hit the floor, your mind is racing. It's a frantic slideshow of unfinished tasks from yesterday, urgent demands for today, and vague anxieties about tomorrow. It feels less like a brain and more like a browser with 52 tabs open, all playing different videos at once. You haven't even had your coffee, and you're already mentally exhausted. If that sounds familiar, you are not the exception. You are the rule. A recent Gallup poll revealed that nearly 80% of Americans feel stress frequently, or sometimes in their daily lives. We're living in a state of chronic cognitive overload, and we've started to accept it as normal. We call it the grind, we call it hustle. But let's call it what it really is. A mental health crisis happening in slow motion. But what if I told you that reclaiming your focus, your calm, and your mental clarity doesn't require a 2-week vacation to Bali or a silent meditation retreat you can't afford? What if the solution isn't some massive, life-altering event, but a series of tiny, almost invisible adjustments? What if the first step to a healthier mind is something you can do in the next 5 minutes right where you are? See, we have a fundamental misunderstanding of how to care for our minds. We treat our mental health like a car we only take to the mechanic when the engine is smoking and spewing sparks on the freeway. We wait for burnout. We wait for the breakdown. We wait until we can't ignore the problem anymore. We think the fix has to be dramatic. Weekly therapy sessions we can't fit into our schedule, a complete digital detox that feels impossible, or a complicated new wellness routine that we abandon after 3 days because it's just one more thing to do. That approach is broken. It's designed for people who don't have your life. It's not for the person juggling a demanding job, a family, a budget, and the constant relentless pressure to keep all the plates spinning. This is your guide for a different way. The secret to a healthier mind isn't found in massive, revolutionary changes. It's found in small, strategic daily habits. Habits so simple they almost feel insignificant. But when compounded over time, they have the power to completely rewire your brain, reduce your stress, and give you back the mental bandwidth you've been missing. This is your guide to mental fitness for the real world. For busy people, I used to believe the myth that a cluttered mind was just the price of admission for an ambitious life. My to-do list was a mile long, my calendar was a game of Tetris, and my brain was the command center trying to manage it all. I wore busy like a badge of honor, but the reality was I was running on fumes. I was making sloppy mistakes at work. I was irritable with the people I cared about most. My creativity, the part of my job I loved, was completely gone. I was efficient, but I wasn't effective. I was doing a lot, but I wasn't accomplishing what mattered. Does that sound familiar? That feeling of being perpetually reactive? Constantly putting out fires, answering emails, responding to notifications, and never having a moment for deep thought, for real problem solving, for just thinking. Today we're going to change that. We're not going to just talk about the why. We're going to dive headfirst into the how. We are going to install the first and arguably the most important daily habit for a healthier mind. A habit you can start the second this video is over. This is the foundation upon which everything else is built. It's the one that makes all the other habits for focus, productivity, and emotional balance possible. This first habit is called the cognitive offload. It sounds technical, but it's brutally, beautifully simple. It is the practice of getting all the swirling, chaotic, and unfinished business out of your head and onto a physical or digital page. That's it. You are performing a brain dump. You are decluttering your mind. Think of it this way. Your brain's working memory, the part you use for conscious thought and decision-making, is like your kitchen counter. If that counter is covered in unopened mail, your car keys, a stack of magazines, yesterday's coffee mug, and a bag of groceries you haven't put away, you can't cook a meal. You can't prepare anything. You spend all your mental energy just moving stuff around, trying not to knock anything over, and remembering where you put the salt. You're paralyzed by the clutter. That is your brain on a typical morning. Oh, I need to remember to email Susan. Don't forget to pick up milk. I'm worried about that upcoming presentation. Did I pay that bill? Each one of those is another piece of junk on your mental countertop. Your brain wasn't designed to be a storage unit. It was designed to be a processor. It's a fantastic idea factory, but it's a terrible warehouse. When you force it to hold everything, it can't do what it does best. Think, create, and solve problems. The cognitive offload is the simple act of clearing the counter. Here's exactly how you do it. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Step 1. Get a tool. This can be a simple spiral notebook and a pen. It can be a blank document on your computer. The key is that it must be a blank slate. Do not use a fancy to-do list app with categories and notifications and due dates. The goal here is to reduce noise, not to add another system to manage. Simplicity is your superpower. Step 2. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Just 5. That's it. Anyone, no matter how busy, has 5 minutes. It's the length of one song. It's less time than you spent scrolling through social media this morning. Step 3. Write. For those 5 minutes, you are going to write down everything, and I mean absolutely everything that is taking up space in your head. Do not filter. Do not organize. Do not judge. This is not a to-do list. It's a raw data dump from your brain. Write down your work tasks. Write down your personal errands. Write down your worries. The stupid comment you made in a meeting yesterday. The fact that you need to schedule a dentist appointment. The brilliant idea you had in the shower. The name of that movie you wanted to watch. Anything and everything that pops into your head, no matter how big or small, gets written down. Let it be a messy, chaotic stream of consciousness list. That's proof that you're doing it right. Step 4. When the timer goes off, stop. Put your pen down. Look at the list. Take a deep breath. Congratulations. You've just cleared your mental countertop. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have time for this. Let me reframe that for you. You don't have time not to do this. The mental clarity and focus you gain from this 5-minute exercise will save you hours of wasted time, distraction, and stress throughout your day. You will make decisions faster. You will solve problems more creatively. You will stop that nagging low-grade anxiety of feeling like you've forgotten something important because you haven't. It's all right there on the page. You've given your brain permission to let it go. The other objection is, this sounds way too simple to actually work. That's the magic of it. Our modern world has tricked us into believing that solutions must be complex to be effective. But the most profound changes often come from the simplest shifts. By externalizing these thoughts, you are freeing up priceless cognitive real estate. You are literally upgrading your brain's processing power for the day. You're moving from a state of mental hoarding to a state of mental clarity. So here is my challenge to you. Don't just file this away as an interesting idea. Don't just like the video. Become an active participant in your own mental health. The moment this video ends, I want you to grab a piece of paper, set a 5-minute timer, and perform your first cognitive offload. Don't plan it. Just do it. Experience for yourself the immediate sense of relief and lightness that comes from getting the chaos out of your head. This is the first essential step. You've cleared the clutter. You've created a clean workspace. But now you have this raw, chaotic list. What do you do with it? How do you turn that brain dump into a focused, actionable plan for your day? How do you separate the genuinely urgent tasks from the anxieties that are just making a lot of noise? That's the next piece of the puzzle. Because once the counter is clear, we can finally start to cook. So, what's the first dish we're making? It's not a 5-course meal. It's not some complicated recipe you need a culinary degree to understand. It's the single most important meal of the day. And to make it, we need to find the single most important ingredient. Right now, your brain is probably serving you a buffet of anxieties. 100 different tasks, all screaming for your attention. The email from your boss. The project deadline that's looming. The laundry that's been sitting in the dryer for 2 days. The weird noise your car is making. It's a relentless onslaught of urgent things. And that word, urgent, is the most dangerous word in the modern world. It's a hijacker. It steals your focus, your energy, and your peace of mind. Because most of the things that scream urgent are not actually important. Think about it. The ping of a Slack message feels urgent. A breaking news alert on your phone feels urgent. A coworker tapping you on the shoulder with a quick question feels urgent. These things are loud. They are immediate. They are almost always someone else's priority, disguised as your emergency. Importance, on the other hand, is quiet. Importance rarely sends a notification. Finishing the first draft of that book you want to write? That's important. It's quiet. Spending an uninterrupted hour planning your family's financial future? Immensely important. Silent. Reaching out to a friend you know is struggling? That's the stuff that matters. It doesn't come with a red exclamation point. Our brains are hardwired to react to the loud, flashy, urgent things. It's a survival mechanism left over from a time when the loudest thing was a predator in the bushes. But in our world, the predator is the endless to-do list, and it's devouring our mental health. We spend our days putting out tiny fires, running from one urgent task to another, and we collapse into bed at night feeling exhausted but not accomplished. We were busy, but were we effective? Did any of it actually move the needle on our lives? This is the cycle we have to break. And we break it with a single powerful question you will ask yourself every single morning, right after you've cleared the counter. The question is this: what is the one thing I can do today such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Let that sink in. It's not, what are the 20 things I have to do? It's, what is the one thing? This is your compass task. It's the one action that creates a domino effect of positivity and progress. Finding it can be tricky at first because the urgent tasks will try to fool you. Answering 50 emails might feel productive, but does it make everything else easier? No, it just generates 50 more emails to answer. That's not a domino, that's a hamster wheel. Your compass task is almost always the thing you are subtly procrastinating on. It's the task that feels a little too big, a little too intimidating. It's the phone call you don't want to make. It's the blank page you don't want to start. It's the difficult conversation you've been putting off. It's the strategic thinking that requires real, focused brain power, not just busy work. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a freelance designer. You wake up. Your inbox is full. You have invoices to send, a minor tweak to make for client A, a follow-up email to send to client B, and you need to start the initial concept for a huge career-defining project for client C. The urgent tasks are the tweak for client A and the email for client B. They are quick, easy dopamine hits. You can cross them off your list in 20 minutes and feel like you've done something. But your compass task, the one thing that will make everything else easier, is spending 2 hours uninterrupted on the concept for client C. Why? Because nailing that concept will secure a long-term relationship, leading to more work and less time spent chasing new leads like client B. It will build your reputation, making future sales easier. It will give you the financial security to hire an assistant to handle invoices and minor tweaks, like for client A. One action. Domino effect. Now I know what you're thinking. But my boss needs that report now. My kids need breakfast. I can't just ignore everything. You're right. This is not about ignoring your responsibilities. It's about sequence. It's about giving the most important part of your day to your most important task. We're not saying you should spend all day on your compass task. We're saying you should do it first, before the world has a chance to throw its urgent, unimportant junk at you, before you even open your email. This is the principle of paying yourself first, but with your time and focus. You give the first fresh, high-energy hour of your workday to the one thing that truly matters, even if it's just 30 minutes. Before the meetings pile up, before the fires start, you attack your compass task. Because here's the secret. Completing that one meaningful thing fundamentally changes the psychological landscape of your entire day. When you start your day by reacting to emails, you are on the defensive. Your brain is in a state of scattered, low-grade panic. You're letting other people's agendas dictate your reality. But when you start your day by knocking out your most important task, you have a win. You've already succeeded. You've steered the ship in the direction you chose. Suddenly, the other tasks on your list seem smaller, more manageable. The annoying email from a coworker doesn't sting as much, because you've already done the work that matters. The pressure is off. You move from a mindset of frantic anxiety to one of calm, centered control. You've created momentum. This isn't a productivity hack. This is a mental health strategy. The feeling of being overwhelmed comes from a mismatch between the number of things you feel you have to do and your perceived ability to do them. By identifying and executing your one compass task, you close that gap. You prove to yourself first thing in the morning that you are in control. You are capable. You are not just a victim of your calendar. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, after you take that moment to clear the counter, I want you to find a piece of paper. Don't use a digital app. Use a physical piece of paper and a pen, and write down the answer to that question. What is the one thing I can do today such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Write down just that one thing. Nothing else. Not your laundry list of 17 other to-dos. Just the one. That piece of paper is your map for the day. That is north. Of course, identifying your most important task is one thing. Protecting the time and mental space to actually do it is a whole other battle. Because the moment you sit down to start, the world will conspire to stop you. Your phone will buzz. An irresistible headline will pop into your head. The urge to just quickly check something will feel like an uncontrollable force. How do you build a fortress around your focus? How do you create an environment where your brain can actually do the deep, meaningful work it was designed for? That's where the real magic happens. It's time to go from knowing what to do to creating the sacred space in which to do it. Let's start with a simple, powerful idea. Your environment is not just a backdrop to your life. It's a silent partner in everything you do. It can be your greatest ally or your most persistent saboteur. Creating a sacred space isn't about incense and crystals, unless that's your thing. It's about intentionally designing your surroundings to support the person you want to become. It's about making focus the path of least resistance. Think of it like this. A chef has a meticulously organized kitchen, a mise en place, where everything is prepped and in its place. This isn't just for show. It's so that when the pressure is on, they can enter a state of flow, creating, not searching. They don't have to decide where the salt is. Their body just knows. We need to create a mise en place for our minds. Let's first tackle the physical. Look at your primary workspace right now. For many of us, it's a desk. But it might be the kitchen table or a corner of the living room. Does this space have a clear, singular purpose? Or is it a chaotic mix of unpaid bills, your kids' homework, a half-empty coffee mug from yesterday, and the laptop you use for both work and Netflix binges? Every object in your field of vision is a tiny little hook for your attention. Each one sends a signal to your brain. That stack of bills whispers, "You need to worry about money." The dirty plate says, "You're messy, you should clean this up." The TV remote sings its siren song of easy distraction. This isn't just clutter. It's cognitive noise. It's 1,000 tiny decisions and reminders that drain your mental battery before you even start the important work. The first habit is to create a single-purpose space. If your desk is for work, it is only for work. When you sit there, your brain should receive one signal and one signal only. It's time to focus. This means no eating lunch at your desk while scrolling through social media. No paying bills. No online shopping. When you sit in that chair, you work. When you're done, you get up and leave. This creates a powerful psychological association, a Pavlovian response for productivity. Over time, simply sitting down will trigger a state of focus. If you don't have a dedicated office, you can create this with a ritual. Let's say you work at the kitchen table. Your starting work ritual could be clearing the table completely, wiping it down, and placing a specific placemat, your laptop, and a lamp on it. That's your mise en place. That lamp is only on when you're working. When you're done, the lamp goes off, the placemat is put away, and the table becomes a kitchen table again. You are physically and mentally clocking in and out of your focus zone. Now let's talk about the most invasive, chaotic, and powerful environment we all inhabit: our digital space. Specifically, that little rectangle of glass and metal in your pocket. Your smartphone is not a neutral tool. It has been deliberately engineered by thousands of the world's smartest people to be the most compelling, attention-grabbing device in human history. And it is winning. The constant pings, buzzes, and red notification bubbles are not gentle reminders. They are neurological hijackers. Each notification is a tiny gamble. A little red circle appears over your email or Instagram icon. Your brain doesn't know what it is. It could be a message from your boss, a like from a stranger, or a coupon for pizza. This uncertainty triggers a release of dopamine, the seeking neurotransmitter. It's the exact same brain chemistry that drives addiction to slot machines. You pull the lever, you tap the icon to see what you've won. Most of the time it's nothing. But that occasional win, an important email, a nice comment, is enough to keep you coming back, tapping and swiping over and over again. This constant, reactive state shatters our ability to think deeply. It trains our brain to crave novelty and distraction. Deep work, creative thinking, and meaningful connection require sustained, uninterrupted periods of focus. You can't do that if your brain is being pulled in 100 different directions by digital confetti. So, we are going to perform a digital intervention. We are going to turn your phone from a demanding master back into a quiet, obedient servant. This is your guide to creating a sacred digital space. Step 1. The Great Notification Cull. Right now, pick up your phone. Go into your settings and find your notifications panel. We are going to turn off almost everything. Here is the rule. If a notification is not sent by a living, breathing human being who is expecting a timely response from you, turn it off. That means every single notification from news apps? Off. That breaking news will be there when you choose to look for it. Notifications from social media likes, comments, friend requests? Off. All of it. Notifications from games, shopping apps, streaming services? Off. Your email? Off. This one is tough for people, but email is a to-do list that other people can write on. You should check it on your schedule, not theirs. The only things that should remain on are phone calls, text messages from actual people, and maybe calendar alerts. That's it. This one change will feel like coming up for air after being held underwater. You will reclaim hours of your life and vast reserves of mental energy. Step 2. Architect your home screen. Your home screen is the most valuable real estate in your digital life. And right now, it's probably a minefield of dopamine triggers disguised as colorful app icons. We're going to clean it up. The goal is to make it a launchpad for tools, not a portal for distractions. Move every single app off your home screen. Yes, all of them. Drag them into a single folder on your second page. Your home screen should be blank, except for the dock at the bottom. In that dock, you should only have tool apps. Things like your phone, messages, camera, and maybe maps or a notes app. Things that help you accomplish a specific task. What happens when you do this? The mindless muscle memory twitch to open Instagram or Twitter is broken. You can't just tap it. You now have to consciously swipe over, open a folder, and find the app. That tiny bit of friction is often enough to make you stop and ask, wait, why am I opening this? What am I looking for? You've just inserted a moment of intention into a previously unconscious habit. Step 3, and this is the advanced move, go grayscale. Did you know you can turn your phone screen completely black and white? Those bright, candy-like colors on your app icons are not chosen by accident. They are designed to be psychologically appealing, to attract your eye and entice you to tap. Red is urgent. Blue is trustworthy. They are manipulating your primal brain. When you turn your screen to grayscale, all of that disappears. Instagram becomes a boring catalog of gray squares. YouTube's red icon loses its urgency. The whole experience becomes less appealing. The phone transforms from a vibrant casino into a dull, utilitarian tool. You can usually find this setting under Accessibility in your phone settings. Look for color filters or color correction. Try it for a week. The world will suddenly look much more vibrant when you look up from your screen. By curating your physical and digital environments, you're not just getting organized. You are fundamentally changing your relationship with focus. You are telling your brain what matters. You are removing the 1,000 tiny decisions that lead to distraction and replacing them with a clear path to deep, meaningful engagement. You're building a fortress of solitude in a world of noise. You have now created the external conditions for a healthier mind. You've cleared the clutter from your desk and silenced the sirens of your digital life. The stage is set. But what happens when the enemy isn't outside the gates? What happens when the distraction is coming from inside the house? You can have the quietest room in the world, a perfectly curated phone, and still be unable to focus because of the relentless chatter of your own thoughts. How do you tame the chaos within? That's where we go next. Think of your mind like a computer. And right now, for most of us, it's a computer running 100 different programs at once. You have dozens of tabs open in your mental web browser. One tab is replaying that awkward thing you said in a meeting this morning. Another tab is worrying about a bill that's due next week. A third is planning dinner, a fourth is thinking about a news article you skimmed, and 50 others are just random, chaotic pop-up ads for old memories, half-baked ideas, and vague anxieties. Your brain's processing power, its precious RAM, is being consumed by these background processes. It's why you can feel exhausted at the end of the day, even if you haven't done much physically. Your mind has been running a marathon, sprinting in 1,000 different directions at once. You try to focus on one important task, the equivalent of opening a demanding new software program, but the system lags, it freezes, it crashes, because it's already overloaded. The common advice is to clear your mind, or stop thinking. But that's like telling someone to stop their heart from beating. It's impossible, and it just creates more frustration. Thoughts are not the enemy. Unmanaged, chaotic thought is the enemy. The goal isn't to achieve a silent, empty mind. The goal is to become the calm, confident IT manager of your own brain. It's about learning to see all those open tabs, and then intentionally choosing which one to focus on, while letting the others run quietly in the background. And our first tool for doing this is deceptively simple. It's so simple that most people dismiss it. But its power lies in that simplicity. I call it the 2-minute reset. Some people call it mindfulness or meditation, but those words can feel intimidating, like you need a yoga mat and an hour of free time. You don't. You need a chair and 120 seconds. Here's the entire practice. Sometime today, maybe right before you start a big task, or when you feel that wave of overwhelm rising, just stop. Set a timer on your phone for 2 minutes. Close your eyes. And all you have to do is focus on one thing: the physical sensation of your breath. Feel the air coming in through your nose, cool and clean. Feel your chest or your stomach rise. Feel the air going out a little warmer. That's it. You're not trying to breathe in a special way. You're just observing the breath that's already happening. Now here's the most important part. Within about 3 seconds, your mind will wander. A thought will pop up. This is silly. What am I supposed to be doing after this? Did I remember to send that email? This is not a failure. This is the entire point of the exercise. The moment you notice your mind has wandered, that is the moment of victory. That is the mental bicep curl. In that moment of awareness, you simply, gently, and without judgment, guide your attention back to the sensation of your breath. Your mind will wander a dozen times, maybe 50 times in those 2 minutes. It doesn't matter. The practice isn't about keeping your mind perfectly still. The practice is the act of returning. Every time you catch your mind drifting and gently bring it back, you are strengthening a neural pathway. You are training your attention muscle. You are teaching your brain on a fundamental level: I am the one who decides where my focus goes. Doing this for just 2 minutes a day is like taking your brain to the gym. It builds the core strength you need to resist distraction and manage that internal chaos throughout the rest of your day. But what about those really persistent, sticky thoughts? The worries that aren't just random pop-ups, but feel more like a computer virus that's infecting the whole system? For these, we need a different strategy. We need to quarantine them. This leads to our second habit: scheduled worry time. This sounds completely counterintuitive. Why would I schedule time to worry? Don't I do that enough already? But think about it. Right now, your worries have free rein. They can show up and demand your attention anytime they want. During a presentation, while you're trying to enjoy dinner with your family, at 3 in the morning, they are in charge. Scheduled worry time is you taking back control. Here's how it works. You designate a specific limited period each day, say 15 minutes at 5 p.m., as your official worry time. This is your appointment with your anxiety. Then throughout the day, whenever a worry or an anxious thought pops into your head, you perform a simple mental maneuver. You acknowledge the thought and you tell it, "Thank you for the reminder, but now is not the time. I will give you my full, undivided attention at 5 p.m. Then you jot it down on a worry list on your phone or a notepad. This does 2 incredible things. First, it validates the thought instead of fighting it. Trying to suppress a thought is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push it down, the more forcefully it will eventually pop back up. By saying, "I'll deal with you later," you're not suppressing it, you're scheduling it. This gives your brain permission to let it go for now. Second, it contains the anxiety. Instead of letting your worries bleed into every corner of your day, you are putting them in a box, a container with a clearly defined start and end time. When your 5 p.m. appointment arrives, you sit down with your list. You go through each item and you worry your heart out. You think about the worst-case scenarios. You let the anxiety happen, but because it's contained, it feels less overwhelming. And you'll find something amazing happens. Many of the worries you wrote down at 9 a.m. seem ridiculous by 5 p.m. Some have already resolved themselves. For the ones that are left, you can use that focus time to either make a concrete plan to address them or to recognize that they are outside of your control. Then, when the 15 minutes are up, you stop. You close the list and move on with your evening. You have paid your dues to your anxiety. These first 2 habits, the 2-minute reset and scheduled worry time, help you manage your thoughts in the moment. But there's a third crucial habit for preventing the overload from happening in the first place. It's the daily mental equivalent of clearing your computer's cache and defragmenting your hard drive. It's the brain dump. Your brain is brilliant at having ideas, but it's terrible at holding them. Trying to keep your to-do list, your brilliant business ideas, your grocery list, and your vague existential fears all floating around in your head is a recipe for cognitive disaster. Each one of those to-be-remembered items is an open loop, a program running in the background, draining your mental energy. The brain dump is the process of getting it all out. Every night before bed, or every morning before you start your day, take a blank piece of paper or open a new digital note. And for 10 minutes, just write. Write down everything that's on your mind. Every single thing. Tasks you need to do. People you need to call. Things you're angry about. Things you're excited about. That weird dream you had. That idea for a screenplay. Don't try to organize it. Don't judge it. Just spill it all onto the page until your mind feels quieter. This act of externalization is profoundly powerful. It signals to your brain that these items have been captured in a trusted system outside of itself. The brain can then let go. It can release the tension of trying to remember everything. It frees up immense mental bandwidth. Now, instead of using your brain as a low-grade filing cabinet, you can use it for what it's designed for. Creative thinking, problem-solving, and being present in your life. These 3 habits form a powerful system. The 2-minute reset trains your focus. The scheduled worry time contains your anxiety. And the brain dump clears your mental clutter. Together, they allow you to go from being a victim of your own chaotic mind to being its calm, intentional architect. You're building an internal fortress, a space of clarity and focus, no matter what's happening around you. But taming your own mind is only half the battle. What happens when the world outside is constantly screaming for your attention? Feeding your anxiety with a fire hose of negativity. We've just built a fortress for our mind, but what if we're leaving the front gate wide open? That gate is your phone. It's your laptop. It's the television screen flickering in the corner of the room. We spend so much time trying to cultivate inner peace to build this resilient mental state, only to hand the keys over to algorithms designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to keep you staring at a screen. And how do they do that? By hijacking the most primitive parts of your brain. They do it with outrage, with fear, with envy, with an endless scrolling drip of information that is scientifically engineered to make you feel like you're not enough, and that the world is falling apart. Think about it. The human brain evolved over millennia to pay very close attention to threats. The rustle in the bushes that might be a saber-toothed tiger was far more important to our survival than the beautiful sunset. This is called the negativity bias. Our brains are Velcro for bad news and Teflon for good news. Now, what happens when you take that ancient threat detection hardware and plug it into the 21st century internet? You get a disaster. You get an anxiety machine. Every notification, every breaking news alert, every controversial post is that rustle in the bushes. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a Twitter argument and a tiger. Just knows threat. And it floods your body with cortisol, the stress hormone, again and again and again. We call it staying informed, but for most people, it's a slow-motion psychological breakdown. Let me tell you about a client of mine. Let's call him David. David was the picture of a busy, successful professional. He was in his late 30s, ran a small marketing firm, had a great family. He did all the things we've talked about. He exercised, he tried to eat right, he even used a meditation app, though he admitted he mostly just fell asleep to it. But he came to me because he was constantly on edge. He was irritable with his kids, he couldn't focus at work, and he had this persistent, low-grade hum of anxiety that followed him everywhere. He thought he was just burning out. So I asked him to walk me through his day. And he said, "Well, my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. And right there I stopped him. I said, "What's the very first thing you do when your alarm goes off?" He looked at me a little confused and said, "I turn it off on my phone. And then, I check my emails, see what's happening in the news, scroll through Instagram for a few minutes to wake up." Bingo! That was the smoking gun. Before his feet even hit the floor, before he'd had a sip of water or said good morning to his wife, David was plugging his brain directly into the global outrage machine. He was starting his day, that precious, quiet, formative first hour, by mainlining the world's chaos. He was reading about political scandals, seeing curated, perfect lives on social media that made his own feel lacking, and getting stressed about work emails before he was even out of bed. He was, in effect, teaching his brain that the very act of waking up was a stressful, threatening event. He was building his mental fortress on a foundation of quicksand. The solution wasn't another app or a more complicated morning routine. It was simpler and much harder. I challenged him to a 7-day experiment. For the first hour of his day, his phone was not allowed to be a part of it. No emails, no news, no social media. Nothing. He had to buy a $15 alarm clock so he wouldn't even have to touch his phone to wake up. He told me later that the first 2 days were torture. He felt a phantom itch in his pocket. He'd be making coffee and his thumb would just twitch, wanting to scroll. He felt disconnected, anxious that he was missing something. But then on day 3 something shifted. He woke up, and instead of reaching for his phone, he just lay there for a minute. He heard the birds outside. He went and made coffee, and because he wasn't staring at a screen, he actually talked to his wife. They had a real conversation. He played with his kids for 10 minutes before getting ready for work. When he finally did check his phone, around 7:30 a.m. on his commute, he realized something profound. He hadn't missed anything. The world hadn't ended. The urgent emails weren't that urgent. The breaking news was just a rehash of yesterday's outrage. But the difference was he was now facing it with a mind that was calm, centered, and fortified by an hour of actual reality. He wasn't reacting from a state of fight or flight. He was observing from a state of stability. This is the fifth habit. You must become the ruthless, vigilant gatekeeper of your mind. You must curate your information diet with the same discipline you would use for a nutritional diet. Because what you feed your mind determines its health, just as what you feed your body determines yours. Junk food for the mind is even more dangerous than junk food for the body, because it corrupts the very lens through which you see the world. So, what does this look like in practice for a busy person? It's not about becoming a hermit or sticking your head in the sand. It's about shifting from passive consumption to conscious engagement. First, reclaim your mornings and your evenings. The first hour of the day and the last hour before you sleep are sacred. They set the tone for your day and for your quality of rest. Make a simple, non-negotiable rule. No screens for that first and last hour. Read a book. Meditate. Talk to your partner. Stretch. Journal. Do anything that connects you to the real physical world, not the chaotic digital one. Second, schedule your consumption. You wouldn't leave a bag of potato chips on your desk and graze all day, so why do you do it with information? Turn off almost all of your notifications. Those little red bubbles are digital slot machines, designed to give you a tiny dopamine hit and pull you back in. Instead, set specific times to check in. Maybe it's 15 minutes at lunchtime and 15 minutes after work. You go in, you get the information you need, and you get out. You are the one in control, not the algorithm. Third, change who you follow. Go through your social media feeds right now and ask a simple question for every account you follow. Does this make me feel better or worse? Does it inspire you, educate you, or make you laugh? Or does it make you feel angry, envious, or inadequate? Be brutal. Unfollow the outrage merchants, the political pundits who thrive on division, the influencers whose perfect lives are a curated fiction. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Stop giving it away to people and systems that are making you miserable. Replace them with artists, thinkers, scientists, and creators who enrich your mind. Trade the fire hose of negativity for a curated stream of wisdom and inspiration. Many people resist this. They say, "But I have to stay informed." And I ask them, informed of what? The minute-by-minute squabbles of politicians? The latest celebrity gossip? A tragedy on the other side of the world that you have zero control over? There is a massive difference between being informed and being inundated. Being truly informed is about understanding deep trends, reading long-form articles, and learning about complex issues from nuanced sources. It is not about reacting emotionally to every headline designed to hijack your amygdala. By curating your diet, you actually become more informed, not less, because you're swapping shallow, anxiety-inducing noise for deep, meaningful signal. David's life didn't magically become perfect. His business still had challenges. His kids still threw tantrums. But his ability to handle it all was transformed. He was no longer starting his day with a cortisol deficit. He was calmer, more present, more creative. He was a better husband, a better father, and a better leader. He had closed the front gate. He had secured the fortress. We've now fortified our mind from the inside with mindfulness and from the outside by curating our information. We're building a powerful defense system. But what about the offense? What about the voice that's already inside the walls? That relentless inner critic, the one that whispers doubts and fears, the one that replays your mistakes on a loop. How do you handle an enemy that already knows all your secrets because it is you? The first thing you must understand is that you don't fight it. You don't declare war. Trying to silence your inner critic with brute force is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The second you relax, it shoots up with even more force, splashing water everywhere. The battle itself gives it power. The struggle is its fuel. So, if we don't fight, what do? We have to change the entire relationship. We have to see that voice for what it truly is. It's not a monster. It's not an enemy saboteur planted in your mind. It's a security guard. A very, very old, very anxious, and frankly not very good security guard who's been working the same shift since you were 5 years old. Think about it. The inner critic's prime directive, its only real job, is to keep you safe. Safe from embarrassment, safe from failure, safe from rejection. It's a primitive survival mechanism that evolved to protect us from being kicked out of the tribe. If you tried something new and failed, the tribe might see you as a liability. So this internal voice developed to scream, "Don't do that. You'll mess it up. People will laugh at you. Stay small, stay quiet, stay safe." Its methods are terrible. It uses shame, fear, and relentless criticism as its tools. It's like a smoke detector that's so sensitive it goes off every time you make toast. The alarm is loud, obnoxious, and stressful, but its intention isn't malicious. Just thinks the house is on fire. Your job isn't to rip the detector off the wall. Your job is to walk over, see that it's just toast, and calmly reset the system. So how do we do that? How do we build this new relationship with our overcaffeinated internal security guard? The first habit is deceptively simple, but it is a complete game changer. You have to give it a name. That's it. You externalize it. You give that stream of negative self-talk a separate identity. Could be a silly name like Gremlin Gary or a formal one like the committee. It doesn't matter what the name is, as long as it separates the voice from you. The voice is not your identity. It is a feature of your mind's threat detection system, not the core of who you are. Let's imagine a scenario. You're a manager, and you just had to have a tough conversation with an employee about their performance. You handled it professionally, you were clear, you were fair. But the second you get back to your desk, the voice starts. "You were way too harsh. Now they think you're a monster." They're probably in the break room telling everyone what a terrible boss you are. You completely fumbled that. You're not cut out for this leadership thing. The old you might get caught in that spiral. You'd start replaying the conversation, dissecting every word, and spiraling into a vortex of anxiety and self-doubt for the rest of the day, maybe even the week. But the new you, the you who practices this habit, does something different. You take a breath, and you say internally, there's Gremlin Gary again. Right on schedule. Do you see the shift? It's subtle, but it's profound. You're not in the storm anymore. You are now the observer of the storm. You've created a sliver of space between your consciousness and the negative thought pattern. Naming it turns it from an undeniable truth being broadcast inside your soul into an amusing, predictable, and ultimately powerless radio station that just happens to be playing in the background. It's the difference between being drenched in the rain and watching the rain fall from inside your house. This simple act of naming is the first step in reclaiming your mental real estate. It's a psychological tool called cognitive diffusion, the process of separating from your thoughts and seeing them as what they are. Just bits of language and images passing through your mind, not direct orders or objective reality. Once you've named the voice, you can move on to the second daily habit for taming it: thank and redirect. This is where the real magic happens. Arguing with your inner critic is a losing game. It's been training for this fight its whole life. It knows all your weak spots. So you're not going to argue. You're not going to debate. You're going to disarm it with kindness. You're going to thank it. When Gremlin Gary starts his rant about you being a terrible boss, you're going to respond internally. "Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate you trying to protect me from being a bad leader. I know you're just worried that I've damaged a relationship and that I might not be respected by my team. I hear that concern. What does this do? It completely short-circuits the system. The critic is expecting a fight. It's expecting you to push back, to feel shame, to spiral. It is not expecting gratitude. By thanking it, you acknowledge its underlying intention, to protect you, without validating its catastrophic message. You're essentially telling that oversensitive smoke detector, "Hey, thanks for the warning. I appreciate you being on high alert, but I've checked it out and it's just toast. We're safe." You're treating it not as a monster, but as a misguided ally. This is the essence of self-compassion. It's not about letting yourself off the hook. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend who was struggling. After you thank it, you perform the second part of the habit: you redirect. You gently but firmly shift your focus back to reality and your values. So after thanking Gary, you would continue, "But I'm going to choose to focus on the fact that I had a necessary and respectful conversation that will help my employee grow. My goal is to be an effective leader, and sometimes that involves discomfort. I'm choosing to trust my actions." You're not debating whether the critic is right or wrong. You're simply acknowledging its input and then choosing a different path. A path aligned with your conscious intentions, not your conditioned fears. Think of it like training a puppy. When the puppy starts chewing on the furniture, you don't scream at it and lock it in a cage. That just creates a fearful, anxious dog. You say, "Ah, I see you want to chew." You thank it for its enthusiasm, and then you give it a proper chew toy. You acknowledge the impulse and redirect the energy. Your inner critic is that puppy. It's chewing on your self-esteem because it doesn't know any better. Your job is to patiently, consistently, and compassionately redirect its energy towards something more productive. Over time, with consistent practice of naming, thanking, and redirecting, something amazing begins to happen. The voice doesn't necessarily disappear. Gremlin Gary might always have a corner office in your mind, but his voice gets quieter. His visits become less frequent, and when he does speak up, you no longer feel that jolt of panicked fear or that wave of crushing shame. You feel a sense of familiar recognition, almost affection. Ah, there's Gary, doing his thing. You might even find a little humor in his ridiculous, over-the-top predictions. He loses his power over you. He goes from being the tyrant who runs your life to a quirky, anxious old roommate you've learned to live with, and even in a strange way to appreciate for his misguided attempts to keep you safe. You have successfully renegotiated the terms of your own internal existence. This internal recalibration is one of the most powerful things you can do for your mental health. It's the foundation upon which so many other positive changes are built. Because when you're not constantly at war with yourself, you free up an immense amount of mental and emotional energy. Energy you can then use to build, to create, to connect, to solve actual problems in the outside world. But this leads to a crucial question. We've spent this time learning how to reset the smoke detector when it goes off. But what if the problem isn't just the smoke detector? What if the real issue is that we're constantly and unknowingly filling our own house with smoke? That's the real question. We've spent this time learning how to reset the smoke detector when it goes off. But what if the problem isn't just the smoke detector? What if the real issue is that we're constantly and unknowingly filling our own house with smoke? Think about what it's like to live in a home like that. It's not about one big, dramatic fire. It's a slow creeping haze. Your eyes are always a little irritated. There's a constant low-grade cough in the back of your throat. Everything you own, your clothes, your furniture, even you, starts to carry the faint, acrid smell of smoke. You get so used to it that you stop noticing it consciously, but your body notices. Your energy is lower. Your mood is perpetually gray. You feel a constant, undefined sense of unease. You just can't seem to get a deep, clean breath of air. This is the state so many of us live in mentally. We're not in the middle of a 5-alarm crisis every day, but our minds are perpetually hazy. We're living with the low-grade smoke of chronic stress, subtle anxiety, and quiet self-doubt. And just like in the smoky house, we've gotten so used to it we think it's normal. We think feeling mentally foggy, irritable, and drained is just the price of admission for being a busy person in the modern world. But it's not. It's a sign that there are smoke sources inside our own house that we need to identify and deal with. So let's put on our homeowner's hat for a minute and do a little inspection. Where is all this smoke coming from? In my experience, for most of us, it comes from 3 primary, often hidden sources. The first source is what I call the faulty furnace. This is your internal monologue, the constant stream of self-talk that runs in the background of your mind, day in and day out. For many of us, that furnace is just faulty. It's not calibrated correctly. It's constantly pumping out a low, steady stream of toxic fumes. It's the voice that whispers, "You're probably going to mess this up," right before a big presentation. It's the thought that says, "Why are you even trying? You're not as smart as they are." When you're learning a new skill, it's the subtle, almost unnoticeable feeling of "I'm not enough" that colors your interactions and decisions. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. It's just a constant low hum of negativity, a pilot light of self-criticism that never goes out. And because it's always there, we mistake it for a fundamental part of who we are. We think that's just our personality, but it's not. It's a faulty furnace. It's a system that's supposed to be providing warmth, self-encouragement, motivation, but instead, it's slowly, quietly filling the house with poisonous carbon monoxide. The second smoke source is the forgotten pan on the stove. You know how this goes. You put a pan on the stove to heat up some oil, you get distracted by a phone call, you walk into another room, and you completely forget about it. First, nothing happens, but then the oil starts to smoke. It's a thin, wispy trail at first, but it gets thicker and thicker until it stinks up the whole kitchen. Even after you rush in, turn off the heat, and open a window, that burnt smell lingers for hours. These are our unresolved past experiences, the failures we never processed, the rejections we buried, the harsh criticism from a parent or a boss that we pretended didn't bother us. We think that by walking away from the stove, by ignoring the pan, we've dealt with it. But we haven't. It's still there on the back burner of our mind, getting hotter and hotter. And then something will trigger it. A similar situation, a random comment, a song on the radio, and suddenly a huge plume of acrid smoke fills our mind. We're hit with a wave of anger or shame or sadness, and we don't even know why. It's the forgotten pan still smoking away, reminding us that what we don't resolve, we're destined to relive. And the third smoke source, this one is uniquely modern. It's the open window to the smog. Imagine your beautiful, clean home, but you live in the middle of a bustling, polluted city, and you leave a window wide open all day, every day. What happens? Soot, grime, noise, and exhaust fumes pour in, covering every surface. It doesn't matter how much you clean inside. You're letting the pollution from the outside world become your inside world. This is our relationship with the digital world. Our phones are the open window. Every scroll through social media is a blast of exhaust fumes from the comparison factory. We see someone's highlight reel and it makes our own life feel dull and gray. Every news alert is a fresh wave of anxiety and outrage pumped directly into our living room. The constant emails, the notifications, the pressure to be always on. It's a relentless smog of external demands and curated realities that settles into our minds, making it impossible to breathe our own clean air. We willingly open that window, thinking we're connecting with the world, but often we're just polluting our own home. The faulty furnace, the forgotten pan, and the open window. Unconscious self-talk, unresolved past events, and unfiltered digital input. These are the primary sources of the smoke in our minds. And here is the most crucial and perhaps most difficult part of this whole idea. You have to realize who is in charge of the house. Who programmed the furnace with that negative self-talk? Who left the pan on the stove and walked away? Who keeps opening the window to the smog every single morning? We did. Now this is not about blame. It's the opposite. It's about empowerment. Because if we are the ones who are creating the smoke, then we are also the ones with the power to clear the air. We can fix the furnace. We can clean the pan. We can close the window. We can stop being the frantic victim of a smoky house and start being the responsible owner of our own mind. So how do we do that? We can't just decide to be more positive or forget the past. That's like trying to wave the smoke away with your hands. It doesn't work. We need a practical daily habit. We need to become our own home inspector. This habit is what I call the 2-minute audit. It's incredibly simple, and you can do it at the end of your day. Maybe while you're brushing your teeth or lying in bed. It has just one step. You ask yourself this question. When did I feel the most mental smoke today? That's it. You're not trying to solve it. You're not judging yourself. You're just identifying it. Think back through your day. Was it during that morning meeting when you felt that familiar wave of imposter syndrome? That was the furnace kicking on. Was it when you saw an old friend's post about their promotion and felt a pang of jealousy and inadequacy? That was the window to the smog. Was it when your partner made an offhand comment that reminded you of something your father used to say, and you felt a sudden sharp spike of anger? That was the forgotten pan on the stove. The simple act of noticing and naming the source of the smoke is profoundly powerful, because what you can name, you can manage. When you feel that free-floating anxiety, it's a terrifying, formless ghost. But when you can say, that's not a ghost. That's just the furnace acting up again. The fear loses its power. You see it for what it is. A malfunctioning piece of machinery. A bad habit. A pattern. Not a fundamental truth about who you are. For the first week, just do that. Just notice. Just name the smoke. Furnace. Pan. Window. Become a detective in your own mind. You will be astonished at how often these sources are running without your conscious permission. You'll start to see the patterns. You'll realize that the furnace always kicks on when you're about to try something new. You'll notice the pan starts smoking whenever you feel criticized. You'll see that the window to the smog is most toxic right before you go to bed. This awareness is the first and most important step to clearing the air. You can't fix a problem you don't know you have. We've spent our lives running around, fanning the smoke detector, wondering why it's always going off, when the real work was waiting for us down in the basement, in the kitchen, and by the window. By doing this 2-minute audit, you are finally walking over to the source. You're looking it straight in the eye, and you're taking back control of the thermostat of your mind. We are moving from being passive inhabitants of a polluted space to becoming active architects of our internal environment. We've learned to identify the sources of the smoke. This is a massive leap forward. But identifying the problem is only half the battle. Once we start turning down the furnace, taking the pans off the heat, and closing the window more often, we're left with another more subtle challenge. What about the air that's already in the house? What if, after years of smoke, the very oxygen we're breathing in our mental home is stale? What if it lacks vitality? In the next part, we're going to talk about ventilation, the practical daily habits for bringing a rush of fresh, clean air into your mind, even on the most suffocating days. So, how do we do it? How do we throw open the windows of a mind that feels locked from the inside? It starts by recognizing the feeling. You know the one. It's that mental stuffiness you get late in the afternoon, where your thoughts feel like they're just recycled air. You're not having new ideas, you're just rebreathing the same old anxieties, the same to-do lists, the same minor frustrations from the morning. It's the cognitive equivalent of a sealed room on a hot day. The air is thick, progress is slow, and you feel a little bit drowsy, a little bit irritable. The problem is, our modern life is designed to be a sealed room. Our phones, our news feeds, our work chats, they are powerful systems designed to pump the same air back at us over and over again. The algorithm learns you like worrying about politics, so it pumps in more political outrage. It learns you have a specific insecurity, so it pumps in more content that pokes at that exact spot. We're not just in a stuffy room. We're in a room where the vents are actively pumping in carbon monoxide, slowly and silently diminishing our capacity to think clearly, to feel joy, to just be. Ventilation isn't a luxury. It is a biological and psychological necessity. And the first, most fundamental way to ventilate your mind is a habit I call the cracked window. This isn't about sitting on a cushion for 30 minutes. For most busy people, that idea is so daunting it creates more stress than it relieves. This is about creating tiny 60-second slivers of fresh air throughout your day. It's about cracking the window just an inch, just enough to let a new current in. Here's how it works. 3 to 5 times a day, you intentionally create a 1-minute sensory anchor. That's it. For example, you're about to drink your morning coffee. Before you take that first sip while scrolling through emails, you stop. You close your eyes. For 60 seconds, your entire world is that mug. You feel its warmth in your hands. You notice the weight of it. You bring it to your nose and inhale the actual aroma. Not just the idea of coffee. You take a sip and you follow the warmth as it spreads through your chest. For that single minute, you are not a manager, a parent, a commuter. You are a human being experiencing a simple physical sensation. The window is cracked. A little fresh air comes in. Maybe you're at your desk, feeling that midday slump. Instead of grabbing your phone, you place your hands flat on the table. You close your eyes and for 60 seconds you just feel. You feel the smooth, cool texture of the wood or laminate. You notice the subtle vibrations from the building. You press your feet flat on the floor and feel the connection to the ground. You are anchoring yourself in physical reality, pulling your mind out of the stale, recycled air of digital distractions and abstract worries. The window is cracked. This can be anything. Standing up and stretching, focusing only on the sensation in your muscles. Looking out a window and truly seeing the shape of a single leaf on a tree. Listening to one entire song without doing anything else. These aren't monumental acts. They are microdoses of presence. But when you do this consistently, you are training your brain that it has an escape hatch. You're reminding it that the stuffy room of your thoughts is not the entire world. There's a whole, fresh, sensory reality available at any moment. Now, cracking a window is great for immediate relief. But to truly change the quality of the air in your mental home, you need a cross breeze. This is our second habit. Actively seek cognitive novelty. A stuffy room is defined by stagnant, uniform air. A cross breeze happens when you open a window on one side of the house and another on the opposite side, creating a current that pushes the old air out and pulls the new air in. In our minds, the stale air is our routine thinking. Our job, our hobbies, our predictable patterns of thought. A mental cross breeze is about intentionally introducing information and ideas that are completely unrelated to your normal life. It's about injecting randomness and curiosity into your day. For busy people, this needs to be effortless. So try this. Subscribe to one podcast on a topic you know absolutely nothing about. It could be the history of concrete, the science of beekeeping, or the art of film scores. Listen to just 10 minutes of it on your commute. You don't need to become an expert. The goal isn't to acquire a new skill. The goal is to force your brain to create new neural pathways, to hear a vocabulary you don't understand, to consider problems you've never imagined. This is the fresh air from the other side of the house. Another way to create a cross breeze is to take a different route, to work, to the grocery store, on your evening walk. Don't use your GPS. Just make a different turn. Force your brain to navigate, to pay attention, to see new buildings and new trees. Our brains are efficiency machines. They love to automate our routes and our thoughts. By taking a new path, you are manually overriding the autopilot and forcing fresh sensory data in. It can be as simple as learning one new word a day from a Word of the Day app and trying to use it. Or reading one article from the science or art section if you usually only read business news. The point is to break the intellectual echo chamber you live in. Your mind gets stale when it only processes predictable information. The cross-breeze of novelty reminds your brain how to be flexible, how to be curious, how to be surprised. It stops the intellectual air from stratifying and keeps it dynamic and fresh. Finally, we come to the most powerful form of mental ventilation, something that's non-negotiable for a healthy mind in the 21st century. This is the third habit, the full-blown air out. This is when you open every single window and door in the house and let the wind rush through for a while. I call this the digital sunset. Just as the sun sets at a predictable time each day, you create a hard cutoff for your digital life. For many people, this might be 9 p.m. For others, 8 p.m. The time is less important than its consistency. The digital sunset means that after this time, all screens with an input, phones, laptops, tablets, even the TV, go off. And they stay off until the next morning. I can feel the resistance to this idea right now. But that's my time to unwind. That's how I decompress. I want you to challenge that assumption. Is it truly unwinding? Or is it just a different kind of stimulation? Is it decompression? Or is it distraction? Scrolling through social media, watching chaotic news clips, or binge-watching a tense drama is not rest. It is mental junk food. It's like trying to air out a room by turning on a giant fan that just blows more dust around. The period after your digital sunset is the crucial time when your mind is supposed to do its most important work, processing the day. It needs to sort through your experiences, file away memories, and work through unresolved emotional currents. When you flood it with constant, novel, and often agitating input right up until you close your eyes, you rob it of that essential processing time. The result? You go to bed with a mind that is still buzzing, you sleep less deeply, and you wake up feeling like the stale air from yesterday is still hanging in the room. So what do you do in that time? You replace the low-quality stimulation of screens with high-quality restoration. You read a physical book. The lack of blue light and the linear nature of text is profoundly calming for the brain. You journal. You get the swirling thoughts out of your head and onto a piece of paper, where they suddenly seem much more manageable. You have a real conversation with your partner or your kids, with no phones on the table to interrupt you. You stretch. You listen to calm music. You prepare your lunch for the next day. You simply sit in a quiet room and let your mind wander. First, this will feel strange. It might even feel boring. That boredom is a sign of withdrawal. But it is in that space, that quiet, that the real ventilation happens. This is your mind's chance to finally open all the windows, to let the powerful winds of quiet and reflection blow through, clearing out the smog of the day and leaving the air clean, cool, and ready for a night of true restorative sleep. Cracking the window gives you a breath of fresh air. A cross breeze keeps your thinking from getting stagnant. But the digital sunset? That's how you ensure you wake up in a whole new atmosphere. It's the single most transformative habit for clearing your mind. And once you've cleared the air, once you can breathe again, you start to notice other things about your mental home. You start to notice the very plumbing and wiring of the place, the deep, hidden systems that determine how everything functions. I'm talking about your core beliefs, the stories you tell yourself and about the world. Most of us don't even realize these stories are running. They're like the operating system of a computer, humming quietly in the background, dictating every single program we run. These aren't just thoughts. They are the architects of our reality. They are the deep-seated assumptions that filter every experience, every conversation, every success, and every failure. If your core belief is, "I'm not good enough," you will find evidence for it everywhere. A promotion you didn't get? Proof. A critical comment from your boss? Proof. A relationship that ended? Definitive proof. Your brain becomes a biased detective, ignoring all the evidence of your competence and kindness, and only collecting clues that support its grim conclusion. If your core belief is, "The world is a dangerous place," you'll see threats around every corner. You'll interpret a stranger's glance as hostile, a news report as a personal warning, and a new opportunity as a hidden risk. This isn't about being realistic. It's about living in a mental prison built by your own assumptions. For busy people, this is especially dangerous. When you're constantly moving, you don't have time to question the operating system. You just run the programs. You react. You get angry in traffic, you feel anxious before a presentation, you feel inadequate when scrolling through social media, and you assume that's just how it is. But it's not. You can become the programmer. You can access the source code. And the first step is a habit that requires no extra time in your day, only a new kind of attention. We'll call it the thought catcher. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts a day. Most are harmless background noise, but some are what neuroscientists call automatic negative thoughts, or ANTs. They march into your mind uninvited and start wreaking havoc. The habit of the thought catcher is simply to start noticing them, to become an observer of your own mind. Let's say you send an important email to your team, and you don't get a reply for a few hours. The ANTs might start marching in. They must think my idea is stupid. I probably overstepped. Now everyone is talking about how incompetent I am. The old you would let those thoughts spiral. You'd get a knot in your stomach, your confidence would plummet, and you'd spend the rest of the afternoon replaying the email in your head, paralyzed by anxiety. The new you, the thought catcher, simply notices. You don't fight the thought. You don't believe it. You don't judge yourself for having it. You just label it. Ah, there's the I'm incompetent thought. Interesting. You hold it up to the light, not as a fact but as a mental event. Like a cloud passing in the sky. You are not the cloud, you are the sky. This simple act of noticing creates a tiny gap. A space between the stimulus, the lack of an email reply, and your reaction. In that gap lies your freedom. At first, you'll only catch these thoughts after they've already ruined your mood. That's okay. The goal is just to start noticing. Wow, I spent the whole afternoon feeling anxious because of a story I told myself. The more you practice, the faster you'll get, until you can catch the ANT the moment it appears. But catching the thought is only step one. Once you have it in your net, you have to examine it. This leads to our next habit, the questioner. This is where you become a gentle but firm detective for your own mind. You take that automatic negative thought you just caught and you put it on the stand. You cross-examine it. You don't have to be a lawyer. You just need a few powerful questions. Let's go back to the email. The thought is, everyone thinks I'm incompetent. First question, is this thought 100% objectively true? Can I know for a fact that everyone on the team thinks this? Of course not. It's an assumption. It's a story. Second question, what is the evidence against this thought? Well, last week my boss praised my work on that other project. A colleague came to me for advice yesterday. I got hired for this job in the first place. Suddenly, the case isn't so clear-cut. Third question, what's a more balanced or realistic way to look at this situation? A more balanced thought might be, my colleagues are busy. They probably haven't even seen my email yet. Or maybe they're thinking about how to respond. Their silence is not necessarily a judgment on my competence. Can you feel the difference? The anxiety starts to dissolve. The knot in your stomach loosens. Fourth, and maybe the most powerful question, what would I tell a friend if they came to me with this exact thought? You would never say, you're right, Sarah. You're probably a complete failure and everyone hates you. Never. You'd be compassionate. You'd be rational. You'd say, don't jump to conclusions. You do great work. There are a million reasons why they haven't replied yet. Why is it so easy to offer this kindness to others but so hard to give it to ourselves? The questioner is about learning to become your own best friend. This two-step process, catching and questioning, is a workout for your brain. It strengthens your prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical part of your mind, and weakens the grip of the amygdala, your brain's fear center. It's mental weightlifting, and it leads directly to the final transformative step in rewiring your mind, the reframer. Once you've caught the negative thought and questioned its validity, you don't just leave a void. You consciously and deliberately choose a better thought to replace it. This isn't about lying to yourself or engaging in toxic positivity. It's not about turning I'm incompetent into I'm a flawless genius. That's not believable, and your brain will reject it. It's about finding a reframe that is true, useful, and empowering. The original thought, everyone thinks I'm incompetent. The reframe, my value isn't determined by how quickly someone replies to my email. I am confident in the work I submitted, and I trust my team. I'll focus on my next task. Let's take another common one for busy people. You're stuck in traffic and you're going to be late for a meeting. The automatic thought, This is a disaster. My whole day is ruined. I can't believe this is happening to me. Your heart rate spikes. You grip the steering wheel. You're filled with rage and helplessness. Let's apply the habits. First, you catch it. There's the "my day is ruined" story. Then you question it. Is my entire day truly ruined? Or is it just one meeting that will be slightly delayed? Is this really a disaster? Or just an inconvenience? And finally, you reframe it. I can't control the traffic, but I can control my reaction. I will call ahead to let them know I'm running late. This is a good opportunity to listen to that podcast I downloaded, or just to practice being calm in a stressful situation. You see the shift? You go from being a victim of your circumstances to being in control of your inner state. Nothing about the external world has changed. The traffic is still there. But everything about your internal world has changed. You've taken your power back from the situation. This 3-step process, catch, question, reframe, is the fundamental daily habit for rewiring the very plumbing of your mind. You can do it in 30 seconds. You can do it while waiting for the coffee to brew, while walking to your car, while sitting in that very traffic jam. It is the most portable and powerful tool for mental health you will ever possess. By doing this, you are no longer a passive passenger in your own mind, being driven around by old fears and outdated beliefs. You are getting into the driver's seat. You are learning to navigate your own consciousness. We've now gone from the outside in. We've managed our environment, our inputs, our relationships. We've cleared the clutter from our mental home. And now we've gone deep into the structure itself, examining the wiring, reinforcing the foundation, and ensuring the systems that run in the background are actually serving us. The house is now clean, secure, and functioning beautifully. The foundation is solid. But a house is not a home until you fill it with something meaningful. So what do we put inside? What gives this newly renovated mental space a purpose? What is the one habit that ties all the others together and points them toward a life of genuine fulfillment? That brings us to the final, and perhaps most powerful habit of all. It's the habit of contribution. Now hold on. Before you click away thinking this is some vague, idealistic concept, understand this: contribution is not about grand gestures. It's not about donating millions or starting a non-profit, unless that's your path. For most of us, for the busy people this guide is for, contribution is the quiet daily act of orienting your life, your work, and your energy outward, even in the smallest of ways. It's the master key. It's the architectural blueprint for the mental house we've been building together. All the other habits, the mindfulness, the journaling, the digital detox, they are the tools, the materials, the skilled labor. They clean the space, fortify the walls, and let in the light. But contribution is the reason the house was built in the first place. It's what turns a structure into a home. It's what gives it a soul. There's an old story about 3 bricklayers all working on the same project. A traveler comes by and asks the first bricklayer, "What are you doing?" The man, looking tired and annoyed, grumbles, "I'm laying bricks. It's a hot day, my back aches, and the pay is mediocre. I'm just laying one brick on top of another." The traveler moves on to the second bricklayer and asks the same question. This man seems a bit more engaged. He wipes his brow and says, "I'm building a wall. It's a good, strong wall. I'm a professional, and I take pride in making sure my lines are straight and the mortar is perfect. It's a respectable job." Finally, the traveler approaches the third bricklayer. This person is humming, a look of serene focus on their face. The traveler asks, "And what are you doing?" The bricklayer looks up, and their eyes shine with a light that wasn't present in the other two. They smile and say, "I am building a cathedral, a house of God where people will find solace and community for centuries to come. Every brick I lay is a part of something magnificent, something that will outlast me, something that will bring peace to thousands." All 3 were doing the exact same task. They had the same boss, the same bricks, the same sun beating down on them. The only difference was the story they told themselves about their work. The first had a job, the second had a craft, the third had a calling. That is the power of contribution. It reframes everything. It transforms the mundane into the meaningful. Without a sense of purpose, a sense of contribution, the pursuit of a healthier mind can become just another form of self-obsession. It becomes an endless cycle of optimization for optimization's sake. Am I meditating enough? Is my journal entry profound? Am I perfectly disciplined? It becomes the first bricklayer's reality, a tedious, self-centered chore. But when you anchor your mental health practices in a desire to contribute, everything changes. You're no longer just laying bricks. You're building your cathedral. So how do we do this? How does a busy person with a mortgage, kids, and a demanding job start building their cathedral? Starts with 2 simple private steps. First, you must define your direction. You don't need a perfect 50-page mission statement. Just start with a question. Grab the journal we talked about in part 4. At the top of a fresh page, write this: what problem do I want to solve? It doesn't have to be cure cancer or achieve world peace. It can be, I want to solve the problem of my kids feeling rushed and unheard in the morning. It can be, I want to solve the problem of my team at work feeling disconnected and uninspired. It can be, I want to solve the problem of the loneliness felt by the elderly woman who lives next door. Or, I want to solve the problem of my own ignorance by learning everything I can about history. Your contribution can be to your family, your team, your community, your craft, or your own understanding. The scale doesn't matter. The sincerity does. Spend just 10 minutes writing whatever comes to mind. Don't judge it. Just explore. This is the first sketch of your cathedral's blueprint. Second, connect that purpose to your daily actions. This is the habit. At the beginning of each day, perhaps during your mindful morning, ask yourself, how can I lay one brick for my cathedral today? If your purpose is to make your kids feel heard, maybe the contribution today is putting your phone away completely during breakfast and just listening. That's it. One brick. If your purpose is to inspire your team, maybe the contribution is sending one thoughtful email recognizing someone's hard work. One brick. If your purpose is to combat loneliness, maybe it's spending 3 minutes asking your neighbor about her day and truly hearing the answer. One brick. This isn't about adding more to your to-do list. It's about infusing what's already on your list with intention. The act of driving your kid to soccer practice is no longer a chore. It's an opportunity to connect and contribute to their happiness. The budget meeting at work is no longer a bore. It's a chance to ensure the stability that allows your colleagues to provide for their families. You're not just laying bricks, you're building a cathedral. Now, do you see how this final habit ties everything else together? It's the linchpin. The mindful morning isn't just about feeling calm. It's about aligning yourself with your purpose before the world tries to give you a different one. The digital detox isn't just about reducing anxiety. It's about reclaiming your focus so you can apply it to what truly matters, your contribution. Strategic movement isn't just for physical health. It's about generating the energy you need to serve your purpose with vitality instead of exhaustion. The practice of gratitude journaling is no longer just a mood booster. It becomes a way of recognizing the resources and support you have to help you build your cathedral. Learning to single task isn't just about productivity. It's about giving your full, respectful presence to the people and projects that are part of your purpose. Curating your information diet isn't just about avoiding negativity. It's about feeding your mind with the knowledge and inspiration required to be an effective contributor. The shutdown complete ritual isn't just about work-life balance. It's about preserving your energy and creativity so you can show up fully for your family, your community, the very people your purpose serves. And embracing imperfect action isn't just about overcoming procrastination. It's the fundamental understanding that cathedrals are built one flawed, very human, but very real brick at a time. This entire journey, all 10 habits, has been about a profound act of renovation. We started by acknowledging the noise and chaos in our mental homes. We decided to declutter, to throw out the junk mail of social media and the endless chatter of the 24/7 news cycle. We reinforced the foundations with sleep and mindful presence. We let in the light with gratitude and movement. We organized the rooms with focus and intention. But a perfect, clean, organized house with no one living in it is just a museum. It's sterile, cold. The habit of contribution is what fills that house with life. It's the laughter in the hallways, the smell of a shared meal from the kitchen, the warmth of a fire in the hearth. It's the purpose that makes the entire structure meaningful. Your mind is not something to be fixed. It is something to be cultivated. It is the garden from which you will feed your family, your community, and the world. These habits are not a life sentence of rigid discipline. They are the tools of a master gardener. They are the skills of a master architect. The goal was never to just have a healthier mind for the sake of it. The goal is to have a healthier mind so that you can give the best of yourself to the people and the causes that matter most to you. The world doesn't need more perfectly optimized, self-absorbed people. It needs more stable, clear-headed, and compassionate people who are ready to contribute. It needs more cathedral builders. So start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take out your journal. Ask the question, and then go lay one single imperfect beautiful brick. That is the journey. That is the work. And it is the most rewarding work you will ever do. Your cathedral is waiting.